Hey there, what's happening? It's Chris, Redbeard Videos, and I'm here with you with a reaction video of sorts, but it's going to be something different than what I've done in the past. I've done react videos to videos, and I may start doing those again. But as I've discussed before when I started doing perfect albums, I'm not a big fan of reviewing albums, especially if I'm out for blood, let's say. I'm out to hurt or tear apart a record. I'm not a fan of that, number one. And number two, there's millions of guys out there that do it, and they probably do it better than me, and I'm man enough to admit that. So I'm okay with not being the album reviewer to tell you what's wrong with a record. However, somebody suggested to me something that would be very cool to do or very good to do would be to have me listen to things and get my initial reaction, first time I'm hearing them. So people will listen to anything first time round, no matter what it is, because that's their job, to be music reviewers. That's not my job. I don't fancy myself a music reviewer. I fancy myself an appreciator of music and someone who just tries to have a good time and disseminate the good that I think music brings us. So I'm going to try and do this with albums that I think are going to be good, or from bands that I love, or prospective artists that I think I'm going to love. So this is where that begins. And what better way to begin this than with one of my very favorite bands in the whole wide world, a band that I'm 1,000,000% in love with, and that is Coheed and Cambria. Brand new album, just came out a few days ago. I have not listened to it. I've had spoilers. If you can get spoilers from a listening experience, I've had spoilers already because my two oldest sons are humongous Coheed and Cambria fans just like me, and they've been telling me all about it for the past 2 or 3 days. So I don't know the note for note. I don't know what I'm in for exactly. I just have kind of a roundabout thing because every time they start talking about it, I go, la, 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 la. So I tried to keep myself as fresh as possible with this one, but that was difficult to do when you have two very diehard fans so close to you. So I'm going to dive into this right now. Brand new Coheed and Cambria album right now, reaction time.
Boy, how? It happened. Okay. Those are like
disgusting.
Wow.
So in typical Coheed and Cambria fashion, before we hit the first number here, which is The Embers of Fire, I want to look into the titles here. And right off the bat, the album is called Vaxis to Window of the Waking Mind. Nothing is simple with this band ever in terms of their titles, in terms of their song, their lyrics and whatnot. It's always some kind of in-depth story. So Vaxis to Window of the Waking Mind, that's typical. There's nothing unusual about that. Looking at the titles of these songs, they're oddly simple. Blood, Bad Man, Our Love. The Liars Club is kind of typical for Coheed. A Disappearing Act seems kind of... Yeah, here we go. Ladder of Supremacy. There we go. Rise, Naianasha or Naianasha. That's a long... I don't even know. You'll see it pop up when we get there. Cut the Cord. And of course, the last track is Window of the Waking Mind. So right off the bat, I'm getting some typical looking song titles, which is unusual for Coheed and Cambria. So, all right, let's dive into this. I'm so excited. All right, so right off the bat, 6 seconds in. That melody line right off the bat is a callback to a song called Old Flames from the last album, Unheavenly Creatures. I'm not sure who's singing this here. It sounds like a kid, and it makes me wonder if it's Claudio's son, Atlas. He's always on tour with them. He's probably around 6 or 7 years old now. So, I don't know, could be him. Sounds like Claudio, so could be Claudio with an effect on his voice, or it could be young Atlas. interesting here is that I did have aspects of this album ruined for me, and from a spoilers perspective from my two oldest. And what's interesting is that they both agreed that they hated the beginning of this, and not that they hated, but they said it's the weakest beginning out of all the albums. And I have to disagree. Now they may have been talking about the actual song that comes next, which is entitled "Beautiful Losers." So we're gonna listen to that next, but I have to say that that open was amazing, especially if you listen to the last album on Heavenly Creatures. The callback to Old Flames and the way that they did it, it's kind of beautiful. It kind of almost made me choke up for a second. So that was pretty awesome. Also, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm not going to play the entire album. I'm going to intersperse basically my reactions as I listen to it, because we don't need to listen to the entire album together. A, that's just long and tedious. But also B, I feel like I'd get copyrighted for that. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to play bits and pieces of it, but for the most part, it's just going to be my reaction. So I hope that's cool. Let me know down in the comments if that's the right way to do this, or if in the next video I should listen to the entire album, if that's more your liking, because I'm gonna listen to it anyway. I just don't know if you want to experience the entirety of the album with me. So on to the next. Beautiful Losers.
When I shout, but I'm here to attest with no hope that somehow with his will there's a way out.
So before we even hit the first chorus, because the chorus will make or break this song, I want to say that I think I get what was being said about this first song, is that it's significantly slower than all of Coheed's other opening songs, like Welcome Home, or No World for Tomorrow, Domino the Destitute, or Dark Sentencers, and all that. They were all very heavy, very right in your face right off the bat. This one starts off kind of slow. Claudio sounds amazing, first off. I love his voice on this, and I've liked everything I've heard. I've actually heard 3 of the songs off this album already, and I really, really love his voice so far from everything I've heard, including this first little verse here. So now the chorus will make or break this song. So let's see what happens. Whoa, the low voice. Low Claudio. Wow, he's getting like deep in the register for the first time I've ever heard. Except for like when he's doing a slew song, but this is like different. He's really learned how to sing. He's really becoming a top flight singer. It's pretty awesome. I love the idea of the lyrics here too. I'm not reading the lyrics. I don't have them in front of me, but I'm just hearing them. Beautiful losers, you've always been my hero. That's the general gist of it. I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea of the people that are considered losers in this story anyway are considered the heroes to this person singing it. That's really cool. I really dig that. Like I said earlier, I understand where they were coming from. It is a slower song than we're used to with Coheed opening compared to other opening songs in the Coheed catalog. But I wouldn't say, I don't know, it is probably the weakest. I think I agree with that sentiment. With that being said, though, I think it's a wonderful song. I think it's lyrically wonderful. I think Claudio just sounds amazing vocally on this record so far. I've only heard one song and an opening piece, and I think the vocals sound wonderful. Obviously, the melodies are always good. Coheed's melodies always shine through, and that's ever present, and it's very, very obvious and very present on this record right here so far, one song down. Next one's called Comatose. I've already heard this song, but let's dive into it again anyway, just see how it flows with the album.
I'm so full of bad ideas. Trust me, you don't wanna hear them. Tell me everything. Now draw the line. Now draw the line. 'Cause
So two things on that little hit there, that little pre-chorus or bridge or whatever you want to call it. Two really fun but awesome performances. First off, Josh Epford gets a shout out here. I heard this song months and months ago, and I am blown away by how he's progressed as a drummer. And when you really take into consideration, if you follow him on Twitter or if you pay attention to his life at all, he's had a multitude of health issues that could easily have derailed any performer of any instrument, let alone a drummer. That dude kills it. And on that little, I know it's just a little gallop. It's not anything like amazing. Like he's not Thomas Hawk or Neil Peart or Mike Portnoy or Mike Mangini or any of these guys. But God, he's fucking underrated and he's fantastic. Josh Shepard deserves a shout out there. And also, again, Claudio with the voice, man, just hitting all kinds of registers and confidently and strongly. Just wonderful. Loving every second of the vocals on this record so far.
Get too close. I don't wanna feel something. Keep me comatose.
My initial reaction here, 2 songs in, is that if there are stations in this country that are playing current rock music, if this album doesn't get the shit played out of it, I don't know what will, honestly. Because I know, unfortunately for me, I live in an area where we don't have modern rock. We only have classic rock because, well, frankly, I am the youngest person here and I'm in my 40s. So that just goes to tell you, other than my kids. But like for the most part, we have older people. I live in a very older area. So we don't have modern rock stations around here, sadly. If there's a modern rock station out there in this country and they're not playing this album, they're missing the boat. Like there's 2 songs in a row that I can hear on the radio at any time. And if I was programming a radio station of modern rock music, this would certainly be one of my top line albums spinning right now on this late June afternoon as I'm recording this. I would totally be spinning this album. So the next song is Shoulders, which was the first release from this album. It was a single, God, a long time ago now. Like I feel like it was 6 or 7 months ago now. And I have to say that my initial response was not very positive to this one. But I've come around on this song quite a bit. I really just didn't like the guitar sound on it, but I kind of love this song now, so...
Maybe we weren't made for each other. Hey, I'm just the one you can keep around.
Let me just say again, for the record, it's all about the melodies with this band. Because even though I did not like the sound of the guitars or the general riff, the initial riff, that chorus, that melody line right there is what won me over because I could not get it out of my head. I just kept hearing it over and over again, and then I found myself walking around the house just singing it over and over again, and I was like, damn, it's a good song. So far, I would say out of the 3, Beautiful Losers is my least favorite song out of the 3. Now, I already have had a chance to sit and fall in love with Comatose and Shoulders. I've had time with them. And the opening bit, I don't really count as its own song, although that really blew me away. I really liked the first minute and a half of the album tremendously. And I didn't dislike Beautiful Losers. It's just, yeah, it's definitely my least favorite song out of the 3 so far. But now we have another new one. A new friend, a new person, a new challenger has emerged. The new song is called A Disappearing Act. Right, this is a callback of something. I feel like this is a callback to a song on Unheavenly Creatures, which is the album before this, Vaxis 1. Unheavenly Creatures. I can't remember what song it is. I'll figure that out. I'll figure that post-production. But I feel like it's a callback. Mark that down that I said it right here. This is very like Killers, Somebody Told Me, or even almost Gaga-ish. Lady Gaga? Did Coheed go Gaga on us? Wow, this is so cool. This is such a great song already, and I don't even know where it's going. There's still another 2 minutes left, but I already love the melody. I love the production of it. I love the new sounds, new Coheed sounds, and they do this every once in a while. It doesn't happen very often, but like back on Afterman, there was a song called Number City.
Honey, release my heart. If you honey, release my heart, you let me go.
Where they went like almost like Police-ish. Not the reggae Police, but like the more like, I don't know, 80s sounding new wave Police. And now with this, it's almost like, like dance floor. Like I heard I heard one of my boys say disco. This is not disco. This is more techno. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like techno, 90s even, or maybe even early 2000s techno to me, and it's fantastic. I really like the melodies. I can't say enough about Coheed and Cambria's melodies. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. This is so damn cool. I can't express it. I know I'm talking over it now, and I'm not listening to it, but I'll have plenty of chance to listen to it later. This is so good. Wow. That's a fantastic song. Holy hell. That was really, like, surprisingly, like, I don't want to say surprisingly good. I'm never surprised when Coheed and Cambria does something good. But if you told me they were going to do a late 90s, early 2000s techno song, I would have been like, wow, they're really reaching. Like, I would have been like, they're bored, those guys. And maybe they are bored, but God, they should get bored more often because that's fantastic. That was so good. All right, I guess I'm ready on for the next one. Jeez. I don't know how they're going to top that.
Circumventing resolutions, and all they seem to like to keep us from coming back. Oh,
The drum work, again, Josh deserves a shout out for this. Josh Shepard sounds incredible on this album. His playing is so good. And it's not that Coheed buries the bass, but most bands don't put it up front. But this was the first, like, well, actually, this isn't the first. It's the second time on this album that I mentioned to myself, there's Zach. Like, Zach is up front in the mix, and it sounds awesome. His bass sounds so solid and punchy, and just his playing is always good, and his playing is always solid, but now I can actually hear it, and it's playing a more prominent role in the song, and that's really cool. That's another new sound and another new angle that Coheed seems to have brought out on this record, which is super cool. All right, well, Love Murder 1 was our first blah song on the album. I mean, it's not a bad song, but maybe after a Disappearing Act and how much that kind of blew me away and how into that song I was, and then on top of it, the songs prior to it with Shoulders and Comatose being as good as they are, and even Beautiful Losers was way better than that. Not that Love Murder 1 was a bad song. It's they're kind of with that song. It seems like they were kind of in love with all the effects that were going on, the keyboards, the vocal effects, and all that. The bass and the drums are killer. Claudio still sounds amazing. The melody is still decent. There's just nothing special about that song. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was a solid Coheed song. That's what it is. The next song is called Blood, and I don't know what to, like, we haven't heard anything really heavy yet, which is what is surprising to me. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs in. We've had a techno song. Comatose is like almost like a pop punkish or like a really pop rock song. Love Murder 1, again, was kind of a pop rock song, but like slower, had a lot of not techno, but a lot of keyboard to it. And then Beautiful Losers was, again, just a pop rock. So I haven't heard anything heavy yet. So, I mean, I don't know Coheed to be hack. I don't know Coheed to be hack at all, but Blood could be a heavy song. So let's check it out. Let's see what we got.
is there anyone?
Nope.
in there?
Look, before we get any further, I don't mean that when I said nope. I don't mean that as like some sort of insult. Like, I don't come to Coheed for heavy. So I want to be clear about that. I don't come to Coheed and Cambria like going, oh, I need the heavy stuff. Like, they could do a whole album like this, and I would be pleased as punch. To say something really cheesy, I really love their melodies. That's what I come to Coheed for, and I'm getting a lot of that on this album. And in the 30 seconds of this song so far, I'm getting that here too. Again, Zach's just shredding on the bass, shredding, and he's up in the mix, and I love the production on this record. I love it. really love when Claudio writes personal stuff within the story form that he's got going on. Because everything Coheed, in case you didn't know, if you've never heard Coheed and Cambria before this video, Coheed and Cambria, everything they do is basically a concept, and it's basically a continuous story, except for one album. But every other album kind of all links together. I mean, there's different factions of the story. I'm not going to get into the whole thing now, but he does a thinly veiled story, but it's all based on his life, it seems, or it is. He's actually said so. So I love when when he throws when it's obvious. Like this is obviously either about something that his parents said to him, or not said, but like a sentiment, or something that he feels about his own son, because his own son is very heavily involved in his life, and he's a super involved dad, and he brings his kid on tour with him, and I do believe that was his son who sang at the beginning of this album. So it's a really beautiful situation, and his family is beautiful and wonderful, and it's great. If you follow them on Instagram, you get to see him. Him and his wife have different pages, and there's always photos of him backstage or him with his dad or doing whatever. It's really cool. So I believe that's what the song's about without really diving deep into the lyrics, but that's my initial impression, and it's super cool. It's a very beautiful song. I very much like this one. All right, The Liars Club is next, and I'm familiar with the song already. This was one of the other singles that came out a few months back, and this, out of the 4 singles that were pre-released before the album came out, is my least favorite.
Or do you want me to lie? 'Cause I could do it, baby. I could do it. Lie to you. I'm begging you.
Well, I'll be honest and say that it's the first time I've seen that video, and it adds a dimension to the song that makes me like it even more. There's nothing wrong with that song at all. It's not the reason. It's not that it's a bad song, and that's not the reason why it was my least favorite out of the 4 initial releases. It's just that I feel like I've heard it before, and not that they're plagiarizing themselves. It's just there's nothing dynamic or unique about that song when you take it in consideration to the rest of the Coheed catalog. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing. It's them doing what they do and doing it very well. So that's a great song. I appreciate that song, and I do appreciate it even more. It's the first time I'm seeing the video, and that video kills. I almost wish they'd make a whole movie out of this, and maybe they will. That would be cool. All right, so we're here for another song. We're in the middle of doing the Coheed and Cambria Vaxis to Window of the Waking Mind. Okay, that's the name of the album. And if you notice, I'm wearing a different shirt, and the lighting behind me might be a little different, and there's reasons for that. Mostly it's because I had something come up while I was recording the first part of this, and as life would have it, I had to go and take care of that. So I went and took care of that, and now it's actually quite some time later. It's a few days later. So we're going to wrap this up now. We're going to listen to the rest of this album, and then we're going to continue doing what we're doing. So the next song on this list, Bad Man. A Bad Man.
You ain't got nothing to lose. Know what you got to prove.
All right, I wanted to make a comment because I've been thinking about the first portion of this album, and I still remain true, by the way. It's been a few days later, and I remain true. I have not listened past The Liars Club, so I really honestly have no idea what these last 5 songs on this record, well, that's not true, because one of the songs out of the last 5 were pre-released. So I have no idea what these 4 of these last 5 songs sound like at all. This is my first listen to them. I had not heard them. This song, Bad Man, so far, again, Coheed. Claudio's voice sounds great. Love the melody so far. Love the overall ambiance of the song and the whole thing. However, one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a criticism or not, I'm going to have to listen to the album several times more before I can make this determination whether or not I like or dislike it. But it seems that Claudio has fallen in love with a specific production of his voice on this album. There's just a lot of vocal effects, a lot. And I know that there's always some sort of vocal effect on every rock or pop album you've ever heard. There's at least reverb or something, but there is a lot of effects on the voices on this record so far. I honestly can't think of how many times there weren't any kind of effects, any kind of effects at all. So it's interesting to think about to see if this is just a standard for this record to give a certain vibe and a certain feel for this record. And I'm actually going to go back and listen to Vaxxus Part 1 to see if that was consistent too, but I don't think it was. I think this is the first time I've ever heard a Coheed and Cambria record where it's so consistently affected. Like the vocals are so consistently drenched in vocal effects. So I don't think there's a reason for it because I do think that Claudio sounds good, and listening to the stuff live, he sounds great. Everything that I hear from current live albums, not albums, current live videos. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. I don't think it's because they're trying to cover up something. I just think it's for effect. But I'm not sure how much I love it. I do love the vocals in general on this album, the melody lines and whatnot. So I'm going to have to listen to it a few more times to see what I feel about it. But we're going to continue. Okay, so that would be the second Coheed song on this. That would be the second song on this record that is kind of ho hum in terms of Coheed and Cambria, Paint by Numbers. Nothing special about that song. Nothing bad about it. Lyrics are okay. I mean, I didn't read the lyrics, but from what I heard, melody line's great. There's some decent notes in there from Claudio. Chorus is solid. It's a solid Coheed song, but nothing. Nothing that makes me want to. Like, if that was one of the lead songs, I would have been disappointed, I think. But not a bad song overall. Okay, so the next song is called Our Love, and this could be one of two things. This could either be your acoustic-y type, Iron Fist, Wake Up type of Coheed song, or this could be one of those really upbeat, fun, Old Flames type songs. So I'm interested to see what this is going to produce here. So it's a short song. It's only 2:24, so that's abnormally short for Coheed and Cambria. So it could be just a filler before heading into something. Now like I said, I had part of this album ruined for me. That the last three songs were kind of a grouping of songs that go together, and where the tone of the album changes, because so far this album has been very, very pop rock oriented. It's been the most, I don't know, would I say it's the most pop rock? Probably, because Color Before the Sun was more light and less metal, but also it did have its down songs, Colors and Young Love, and songs that were kind of like, slow and brooding, let's say. Whereas this one the whole album seems to kind of be upbeat and have a very airy and light feel to it. So this could be a transition into what I've been told is the heavy part of this album, is the back end, where it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And I know one of these last four songs, so I know one of these songs is not necessarily heavy, but it's definitely a different shift in tone compared to what we've heard so far. So let's hear what Our Love has to give us here.
Our love won't surrender to the odds up against us. No.
So, unaffected voice. Just want to point that out. That's an unaffected voice, and it sounds great. Boy, they truly write some beautiful, beautiful lines. Like, wonderful melody lines, and just great atmosphere and the whole thing. Like, Coheed has become masterful at creating a scene and conjuring up feelings within melody lines and within the sounds of the instrumentation and their production. They're one of the best. They're one of the best out there. So that was it was definitely just a transition. I feel like there was a callback again to either the last album or earlier in this album. I'm not sure exactly without looking into it. We've had one of those, two of those already. Next one is called Ladders of Supremacy, which already sounds like a heavier song. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if this was the heavy song, the heaviness that I was told about was coming. So, and it's by far the longest song on this album so far. It's 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So, yeah, I think we're in for something here. Here we go. Love the artwork, by the way. All the artwork I've seen has been amazing. That's the crunch. Well, we are getting a full-on, like, prog metal intro here. This is fantastic. Okay, I hate to stop this in the middle of this epicness, but holy hell, Claudio's voice. Hold on a second. Need to go back 1 second here. There's a note in here. This whole section, he changes his voice. So, this is why I listen to albums 3 full times before I give my full critique of them. Because as much as I've heard about how amazing that song is, Ladders of Supremacy, I don't know. Like, again, it's not bad. I don't think I've ever heard a truly terrible Coheed and Cambria song. What I will say, though, is that out of the grand lexicon of heavy, epic, proggy Coheed and Cambria songs, that ranks pretty low. Now, it's just an initial response. And again, I can't give you a specific reason other than I just felt it moved slowly and it didn't do anything that really grabbed my attention, like In Keeping Secrets would, or like The Final Cut would, or No World for Tomorrow, which is a not an epically long but a very heavy song. That just kind of just went on about its course and had a great beginning, had a very strong dynamic beginning and good vocals again. That is the running course throughout the entire album, is that Claudio's vocals are just fantastic, just simply fantastic. But I don't know, that song didn't grab me the way. Now maybe it was due to overhype, because the people around me tend to do that. I tend to get overhyped about stuff, thrown at overhype tends to get thrown at me, and then it doesn't meet my expectations due to that. But also on top of that, I don't know, coming out of the poppier stuff, I felt like I should have gotten a No World for Tomorrow, like that level of heaviness and strength. If you were going to go heavy, they should have went all in. So maybe that wasn't the plan, and maybe that's just my first interpretation, but that's what it is. Again, not a bad song, a very good song actually, and quite the opposite of a bad song. It's a very good song. Unfortunately for Coheed and Cambria, I can only compare them to themselves, because comparing them to others, it would always be great. They're better than most rock and metal bands out there right now. So comparing them to themselves, the song doesn't rank as highly as I hoped it would. So, all right, next is Rise Naiasha, which is a song, a title that I will butcher forever in time, forever and ever. So that's why I just call it Cut the Cord, because that's the parentheses. Already one of my favorite songs. I've already heard this song literally hundreds of times, but I'll give you my impressions. Why not? I'll just go on record and say it, that from the moment I heard this song, it's been one of my favorite Coheed and Cambria songs ever. That chorus is one of the most well-crafted choruses I've ever heard in any song, let alone Coheed and Cambria. It's just such a good melodic driving chorus. It's so good. It is, and the lyrics are fantastic. It is just it's one of the best choruses I've ever heard. Period. I also just want to say one more thing about this song, is that despite the fact that it's not a super heavy song, it is one of the more progressive songs too, because especially on this album, because the guitar work and the drum work are just the interplay between the two of them, and most of the song is in a typical type of 4/4 structure, but it doesn't sound that way. They're definitely playing around with it, but the guitar work on this song is really fantastic too. I just wanted to mention it one more time. I've been waiting to gush about this song for months and months and months now, so this is my opportunity to do so. So it's just an awesome song.
Oh, my baby boy, don't you cry. It's you and I.
And again, I think this is once again it's Claudio bringing his art to real life and vice versa. I do believe that when he writes these things and he sings these things, he's talking about his own child. And I don't know, it kind of gives me a pause. Like, as a parent myself, like, I'm not the musician that he is, or I'm not the artist that he is. And I think it's awesome that he can write songs like this that can connect to someone like me who is a parent. And every time I hear this, especially this section, like, I feel it a little bit, like, and my emotions start to, because I feel like I could say this to my children. I feel like I could say this to, my niece and my nephews, all the children that are important in my life. Like, I just feel like it's that type of thing. If you feel that, then this is what you would say. And I don't know. I just think Claudio does it as well, if not better than most. So seriously, such a great song. Just a great song. Start over. Well, here we are. We're at the last song, Window of the Waking Mind. And I guess you would call this the title track. The album's called Vaxis 2, Window of the Waking Mind. So the song is not called Vaxis 2, but it is called Window of the Waking Mind, which is the subtitle. So the song clocks in at over 8 minutes long, which is by far, again, by over 2 minutes, the longest song on the album at 8:35. And Coheed's good for one of these per album, at least. And usually they're pretty epic, and usually they have a lot of different twists and turns to them. So, especially at the end of the album, something we can look forward to just as a prediction. And again, I've not heard this album, and I have not had anything specifics about this song ruined for me, but something you can look forward to for Coheed and Cambria on this song specifically will be callbacks to either the last album, because apparently these two albums are going together and everything before it is over. So in terms of the concept. So between these two albums, you'll get callbacks between the two albums and sections that are either going to be direct callbacks or something that sounds similar. These are things that Coheed does quite well and quite often. So I'm looking forward to possibly hearing that, but mostly I'm just looking forward to hearing what kind of prog gem we have in store for us. So let's check it out. Window of the Waking Mind, the final song and the title track of the new Coheed and Cambria album.
And so it goes.
You know what's interesting? So Coheed and Cambria as a band doesn't do a lot of acoustic songs, really. Like, they may put one or two here and there. Like, off the top of my head, I could think of 5. There's not a ton, believe it or not. And I truly believe that if Coheed and Cambria shut down today and stopped being a metal band or a rock band and just went all acoustic, it would work. It's where Claudio's voice really thrives the most. I mean, he's a phenomenal singer on all fronts. I'm not putting him down on any level. But on this album, before I even get into the prog epicness that I'm sure we're about to launch into, it's this acoustic stuff and all the pop stuff that happened earlier that has made me really, for years I've struggled with Claudio's voice. And over the past, I would say 2 or 3 albums, he's really, really gotten to a point where he's just solid now. He's arguably one of the best singers out there right now. And I don't know if that was because he bettered his technique, if he learned how to sing better, if just break, and not doing it as much and not being forced to tour relentlessly just to make a buck has changed all that. But it showed, because on this album is the best he's ever sounded. And it's this lighter stuff, this acoustic stuff, where it really shows how dynamic and interesting his voice is. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. I love it.
Here's a simple story, and I hope I tell it well. of a boy locked in a place. His mind the very cell.
I'm so friggin' excited. Oh, so coming out of that section, they brought back the narration from the first album, which we haven't heard at all on this album, which is surprising.
Patterns unravel the entangled threads of my reality, not of design, but by accident. My perception in question, as I leave the infinite.
The guitar work, it's like it's almost like Coheed was like, okay, yeah, we do these concept albums, and this is what we do, but like, you know, we're gonna lightly touch on it throughout the course of this nice poppy, you know, interesting album, but yeah, we're gonna tell the whole story now. Like, we're gonna wait till the end, and we're just gonna really dive into it. So, oh, by the way, we still do this. So, it's pretty awesome. I'm excited about this. Let's see where we go.
I'll take you home, this child of ours. I'll take you home
What an amazing transition.
with all my love. I'll give you.
Well, that was fantastic. That ending was worth the price of admission, if you ask me. Window of the Waking Mind. I cannot give a full critique of the album simply because my my thought process generally takes 3 listens or so to fully process something, whether I like it or not. Even if I totally fall in love with an album from the word go, or I know it's total shit from the word go, I still give it 2 more full listens before I develop a full opinion, and then it evolves even further down the line. There are things that I've fallen in love with even after 3 listens and then went, why did I love this so much, and vice versa. What I will say is that it's probably an unpopular opinion. I know it is in my house for sure. First impression is I liked Vaxis 1 better. Unheavenly Creatures is the name of that album. I like that one better than this one. Initial impression. However, I will say that this one is way more creative. The melodies are absolutely infectious and wonderful. And I could quickly see by the 3rd listen that this album will be one of my very favorite albums, just because the melodies are just that damn good that I can't imagine not wanting to listen to this album constantly. No matter what, it's got a big thumbs up from me. It's a fantastic record. Coheed and Cambria is one of the best out there doing it right now. And whether you want progressive or pop rock or whatever, the one thing this album does not possess is the heavy. There is no heavy on this album, really. I mean, there's a little bit in Ladders of Supremacy, and there's a little bit in Window of the Waking Mind. But for the most part, you're getting pop rock, pop metal-ish, and that's about it. And that's great. I like that. I don't think there's a lot of that out there right now, especially anybody doing it super well. So I hope that this gets a lot of radio play because it deserves it. And yeah, I will give it a few more listens, and maybe I'll make a follow-up short video. You can always check it out. If I'm going to do a short video, it'll be on TikTok probably. So it's at Redbeard Videos on TikTok. Tell me your thoughts and your what you think about this album. Listen to it on your own, because obviously I didn't play the whole album here. But take my thoughts, listen to it yourself, see what you think about it, and get back to me. Leave the comment down below in the comment section. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe. Hit those buttons and keep me going in the algorithm and keep me up. And then also my other social media places, at Redbeard Videos on Facebook, at Videosbeard on Twitter, and Redbeard Videos on TikTok. Okay, thank you so much for being here with me. I so much enjoy being here with you. And until next time, we'll talk to you then. Bye.